Signs of the times? The Lord Jesus Christ guides the course of world events. Love calls us to be ready. Make every effort to preserve unity, which has its origin in the Spirit. And peace is the binding force. This is Rustic Captures, LLC on YouTube.com. Thank you for joining me. Please be sure to subscribe down below the video and click the bell for notifications if you have not done that already. If you like this video, please also give it a thumbs up, but most importantly, please share it. Share it, share it, share it. Thank you, and God bless you.
Well, good afternoon. As folks know, we are currently battling a wildfire crisis in the state of Washington.
Of Malden in eastern Washington state, was destroyed by a fast-moving fire Monday as 35 miles south of Spokane in an agricultural region known as the Palouse.
On this tragic fire in Malden tonight.
Well, Nia, it's hard to say just how devastating this fire is. So many homes in this town are still on fire. There's not much left of them. Look at this one, burned all the way down to the foundation. It's still on fire. This is the scene that it's like all over Malden right now. These people had about 15 minutes to evacuate when this fire first started. Some of them have not returned, and they don't know if they even have a home.
Awful, devastating. Unbelievable.
Homes burned to their foundation, cars and tractors charred. The town of Malden is unrecognizable. Shannon Thornton and her husband were on their way home from Montana. They got a frantic call from their son. This is all that's left.
The gun safe made it. That's intact.
Across the street, her neighbor's home untouched by the fast-moving flames.
It was weird. It was surreal. It was like, you can't believe how fast. I still can't fathom how quickly it traveled. But the winds today were out of control.
Whitman County Sheriff Brett Myers says he's never seen so much destruction. This is what the post office looks like. It burned for hours. So did other homes. Firefighters were overwhelmed now. And back here live, still so many homes, mostly foundations, burning around the town. Firefighters are spread throughout. This fire kept moving to the southwest. It's grown to about 8,000 to 10,000 acres. The power is out in Malden. And we've also heard several explosions, likely some propane or gas tanks exploding as the fire reaches them.
In what's being described as an unprecedented disaster. Now, much of the West Coast is now in the danger zone as powerful gusts of hot, dry air are fueling blazes. Tonight, the town of Malden, Washington, has been virtually wiped off the map after flames ripped through the fire station, City Hall, and most of the homes there. But nowhere are things more dire than outside of Fresno, where what's being called the Creek Fire exploded so quickly it's being described as in a class by itself.
The wildfires burning throughout the West are especially destructive this year. Scientists say they're fueled by climate change. The fires now ripping through several states, leaving a path of immeasurable destruction, racing through the Pacific Northwest in the small community of Malden, Washington.
Approximately 90% of the town is completely gone,
including the City Hall, fire station, and the post office. Flames still visible hours after the fire raced through, pushed by 50-mile-per-hour winds. Residents getting out just in time.
State officials say they believe the fires burning right now in Washington were all caused by people.
And in Malden, in Whitman County, 80% of the homes were lost as the fast-moving fire tore through town.
From Sky King, this mobile home destroyed by flames, one of several mobile homes which caught on fire after a quick-moving brush fire hit trees at the River Park Estates near Sumner. We are keeping tabs on these new fires as firefighters battle to put them out.
Well, challenging and abnormal. That's how firefighters describe the wildfire that destroyed 6 homes in rural Pierce County last night. Investigators say high winds, pretty much they started up and then spread that fire. South Bureau Chief Drew Mickelson got an up-close look at the neighborhood that's now just piles of rubble.
The fire chief called it a firestorm. He said it blew through about 100 acres of this neighborhood, wiping out 6 homes. He says it was very unusual for a fire like this to be in western Washington. At the end, 6 homes were destroyed, several shops and outbuildings, a number of RVs, vehicles as well. Firefighters say the fire started about 11 o'clock last night when a tree fell on a Bonneville power line that runs just beside this neighborhood. And the wind was at least 20-mile-per-hour gusts is what they said they were seeing. And that caused a firestorm just to blow through here. Firefighters, once they got on the scene, there was already a home that was fully involved, and they were not able to keep it from spreading.
These fires are extraordinary. They are doing things we've never seen before as to how fast they spread.
The governor said an estimated 330,000 acres burned within 24 hours yesterday. The state public lands commissioner says that's more than double the acres of last year's fire season in just one day alone. Authorities are investigating what caused those fires, but they believe all of them are human caused. The governor urged people to avoid doing anything that could even create a spark and cause a fire.
The Malden fire ripped through the small town, destroying nearly everything in its path.
As the sun comes up, we get our real first look at what is left over of Malden. I want you to take a look at what appears to be a city storage facility. You can see there's a dump truck over there with the tires literally burnt down to fibers. And this, as you mentioned, Jen, this is just one of many, many buildings that have been reduced to ash, to rubble, to nothing. Over the horizon here, as you kind of look over the top of your screen, you'll see that just beyond this building, the remnants of this building, is the remnants of City Hall. That's the first building that we passed early this morning when we drove in, and we couldn't even see it because it was so dark, but now we can fully see with this sort of ghostly smoke over the top of it the remnants of this town. Most of them, as you mentioned, are gone, and that includes the fire station, the post office, City Hall. And according to Whitman County Sheriff Brett Myers, as you mentioned, 80% of all of the homes are gone as well.
We're in the heart of town, and behind me, this building is what was the United States Post Office. You can see tonight it is still actively burning. But as we point your attention further downtown, you can see just the devastation the fire left as it ripped through the area. Most of the buildings and homes here are destroyed.
This came through like a jet plane, really. It just tore right through here.
Whitman County Sheriff Brett Myers says the fire destroyed about 80% of the homes in Malden. The ones still standing were still surrounded by flames. The rest of the town is nearly flattened. The high winds pushed the fire southwest through the small town of Malden and into Pine City, only a few miles away. Myers says because of the high wind speeds, they could not get air support, only ground.
In conditions like this, there's just nothing you can do.
One firefighter we talked to was first on scene in Malden. He said at one point, crews had to start picking and choosing which buildings and homes they could save because the fire was moving so quickly.
We've had some big fires in Whitman County, and in many cases, those fires have burnt up a lot of ground, but really haven't destroyed as much property as, what we see today is just the magnitude of property is just substantial. It's some of the biggest amounts of destruction that I've ever seen.
Now this home behind me is just one of only a few that are still standing. You can see the homeowners left the sprinklers on, but just look how close the fire came to the home, melting off the siding. Now we talked to Spokane Fire Chief Brian Schaefer, who says crews are expected to come here tomorrow to search through the rubble for possible victims.
This morning, much of Malden is covered in soot and ash. Yesterday, the Malden fire ripped through town, destroying nearly everything in its path.
As you mentioned, that fire swept in so fast in this area and it devastated the town, and it all really kind of started at noon. So this time yesterday, there was no threat, just the winds that were coming through, but boy, did that wind really pick up. Devastation to this trailer, half of it literally melted, one of the many, many, many signs of devastation that they're going to see this morning, and that brick and mortar are the greatest losses caused here at this Malden fire. Reporting live outside of Malden, I'm Joshua Robinson. Back to you.
Brush fire shut down Highway 167 in Sumner. Near the Highway 410 interchange, the State Department of Transportation does not know when the highway is going to reopen. The Sumner Police Department's evacuated a warehouse.
Well, just 45 minutes south of Spokane, a wildfire just decimated the town of Malden. The sheriff says he's never seen anything like it. Most of the buildings and the homes are gone. This is just one of several disruptive fires that started today. A fire meteorologist for the State Department of Natural Resources says people caused all of the new fires today, which means each one of them could have been prevented.
In Southern California, look at this. A smoke-nado was spotted. The San Diego Fire Brigade reporting unpredictable behavior. Thousands of homes are threatened, and residents have been forced to run for their lives.
People across the state of Oregon forced to flee as fire moves in. The high winds and heat making for a dangerous combination.
And this afternoon, there are fires prompting evacuations in Washington, Marion, and Lane counties. Those fires are producing a lot of smoke. We're hearing from many of you saying the sky is red, and you have noticed.
In Clackamas County, more than a dozen fires forced more than 1,000 people to leave their homes. Morgan Romero is in Malala, where one of the larger fires is at a lumber mill. And Morgan, they're trying to put this out. It's really a big challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see the wind blowing. You can hear the wind blowing in my microphone right now. Throughout the day, the wind has been a major problem for firefighters, shifting directions throughout the day. You can see the fire is still burning behind me on that stack of wood, about 50 to 60 foot logs still burning that they're going to continue to let burn because they just don't have enough water right now. And as you can imagine, wood is a fuel for the fire. This is one of the most terrible places a fire could break out. You can see behind me my live shot. It's gray and then with an orange hue off in the distance. As we were driving around the county, we encountered a lot of different pockets of gray and red. It was very daunting, almost like a nighttime feeling in the middle of the day. Also, while we were out driving around Clackamas County, we ran into a lot of road closures because there were a lot of downed power lines due to the wind, and officials were blocking off roads as they dealt with those power lines and more spot fires.
Flames consume this timber,
so there's unlimited fuel there, just throwing embers,
wiping out tons of RSG Forest Products supply.
and this one will consume all of this, and there's just not enough water here to put that out. So we have rigs out in the grass downwind from this, catching all the spot fires and trying to hold the fire throughout the day.
Holding it so it doesn't reach homes or burn buildings at the mill. The Fire Chief Vince Stafford believes strong winds knocked a tree onto a power line on the other side of Highway 213, and up went the brush. This isn't the only wildfire his agency is fighting. There's two more south of Malala. One off Will Hoyt and Bird Roads prompted dozens of evacuations.
This kind of wind event, you know, is a once in a 100-year event, and it's here.
And resources are stretched very thin. The Bitchute Creek fire is one of the 15 fires burning. It caused people at the Job Corps at Ripplebrook in the Mount Hood National Forest to evacuate. And at last check with Clackamas County, evacuees can go to Malala High School. So anyone who's impacted by one of those 4 fires that prompted evacuations can go check in at Malala High School.
Exploding up in the woods, and it's just crazy. They're evacuating people out of here, and like I just heard something explode just now.
I'm standing above the Snohomish River. You see green around me, but the experts say when it comes to fire, don't be fooled.
Well, Nia, it's hard to say just how devastating this fire is. So many homes in this town are still on fire. There's not much left of them. Look at this one, burned all the way down to the foundation. It's still on fire. This is the scene that it's like all over Malden right now. These people had about 15 minutes to evacuate when this fire first started. The town of Malden is unrecognizable. And back here live, still so many homes, mostly foundations, burning around the town. Firefighters are spread throughout.
This came through like a jet plane, really. It just tore right through here.
And we've also heard several explosions, likely some propane or gas tanks exploding as the fire reaches them.
Now this home behind me is just one of only a few that are still standing. You can see the homeowners left the sprinklers on, but just look how close the fire came to the home.
This came through like a jet plane, really. It just tore right through here.
The wildfires burning throughout the West are especially destructive this year. Scientists say they're fueled by climate change. The fires now ripping through several states, leaving a path of immeasurable destruction.
State officials say they believe the fires burning right now in Washington were all caused by people.
We could hear houses falling, exploding up in the woods, and it's just crazy. They're evacuating people out of here, and like I just heard something explode just now.
Now, much of the West Coast is now in the danger zone as powerful gusts of hot, dry air are fueling blazes.
There's a storm on the horizon. Oh, let the wind blow. There is thunder in the heavens. Oh, let the wind blow. Let the rain fall down from the sky above. Let the tempest roar till it's had enough. I'm trusting in the Lord of love. Let the wind blow. There is lightning in the distance. Oh, let the wind blow. There is darkness all around. Oh, let the storm on the